All right, it's time to put the canvas back on. Now, when I go to put the canvas on, what I did was down here on the end, I loosened up these two cross supports for the wheels. That basically keeps it at the right distance and squares up the wheels. But I'll be able to put that on, and I'm gonna hang the canvas just over the top and slip it down in between these two pieces. So basically it's going to end up being looped around these two and up each side. Now once I get it looped around these two though, I'm going to put more on this end. Let me stand up. I'm going to put more on this end, because once I get it all the way on and around and poke through, I have to turn around and push it back in between those two so they would ride up, hits these switches, right, and go up to that center spot right in there where this wheel will go. It's adjustable. See the two pieces of blue tape, it goes in there, so it is adjustable to take up slack. Now the only trick to it, if you notice, you can see there and there, you can see the screens that the switches have to hit. So when we put the canvas back on, you can put it on upside down and you really wouldn't know it until you realize it wouldn't score. So so you got to make sure that these screens are facing the same direction as your switches are. So if you did this the other way, you did it upside down, you got to put it on the other side. So anyway, we're going to slip that over, put it on, poke that up, drop the other piece, bolt these back together again, stand it up, and actually I think what I'll do is poke it through, bolt this, stand it up, and then put that piece on it and do it in that order so it can that way I can work it. But anyway, once I get the canvas on there, we're getting closer. All right, so I've got the canvas looped through everything, or around. It's still sitting loose, but before I put it together and stretch it tight, I want to show you where you see where the stripe is. Now this is going to ride a little bit higher, so you can see it'll ride right there. You can see when those switches run across the metal screen, how they'll end up making contact between the two arms and being able to register a hit if you happen to be pointing at the part that is selected there. So I got to put that on there, but this bracket here actually goes on the bottom side over there up this way. So I'm going to stand it up, then run that through, because I think it'll be it'll be easier for me and keep me from tearing things up, which is the main objective here. All right, so now what I'm doing, I've got it all on there, but my problem is, you see down here, it's running to where the thing is sitting on that edge, and over here it's running on the right. See, it's eating up, getting closer to the edge than it is on that side. So now I'm trying to adjust it so it runs smooth, and supposedly there's a switch right here, which is really convenient. So what you can do is, as I've done, I've got it set outside, and now I can use this switch here on and off to make it just the motor to run, and we can watch the belt or the canvas run. And if you notice, it's running, it's trying to get up here on this edge at the top, but at the bottom over there it's running that way, so it's trying to go wee off to the right. On the adjustment, there is, that's the removal, there's the whole thing to remove the plug, and tells you how to do it to center the screen. This is stuck on the inside of the door. We'll leave it there. Somebody can capture it if they want. That way they can adjust the tension on it. So anyway, I've got the tension set down here on these springs. There's one on each side. They had an extra one on here. I'm not sure why. I think they were trying to correct this in maybe the wrong way. But anyway, so it's going to be a process of adjusting and moving till I get it to go the direction. It's funny because the direction says that if the belt is running right, you do this, and if the belt is running left, you do this. Now they're very specific about saying which side is the left, that side, and which side is the right, this side over here. But what they don't say is when it goes this way, I'm assuming it's to the right, because down, and it's angled, that angled across, and anyway, it's angled across that direction from this side to this side. So I guess if it's running and it's moving this way, it's at an angle. In other words, this whole thing isn't shifting across. The top is running to the right, and the bottom's moving to the left. So, and they don't tell you how to adjust that. They just say if it's running right or running left. I'm assuming this is running right, and that's what I've been doing, is making changes to make it run more this way. But I don't know, maybe I need to adjust it the other direction. Okay, but so that's what I'm doing. I'm messing around with it now. Once I get it running straight, I'll talk a little bit about how I did that, but what I ended up having to do to make it run right. But it's looking pretty cool. It's getting closer to running right. So each time I do it, I run it, I make some adjustments, I recenter the belt, then run it again and see what happens. And it could be too that the canvas is just stretched one side or the other, and I may be fighting that too, but we'll see. All right, so I have her running now. Been running about 3 or 4 minutes. She's pretty straight. It still tries to run a little hard to this side, and she loosens up. But down at the bottom, this gap here, you see sometimes it'll crawl on top of it, and then it'll move back. These spring mechanisms here make a difference to tighten or loosen this. And I added a little bit of oil. You can see it around that, getting that bracket to move a little smoother. And they have one on this side as well that I oiled. And between those two brackets moving a little better, I think that's helping it run more square. It's not going to be perfect. I don't think my canvas is perfectly square, but it's definitely running better than it was. So I think it's time we slide her back in the box and see what happens. All right, not quite ready for prime time. The speaker grill's really got to be cleaned. I got the other temporary speaker mounted, but she's lit up. I've played a game. I've managed to get a shot or two off with the thing running, but the lineup's not just right. But man, that's pretty cool. And I'm not sure how well that's going to come into focus. One of the things that I'm having when I'm playing is that you see all these white dots all over this. This is the top of the control panel. Cigarette burns. So many cigarette burns. You can see where they've laid them on and the cigarette just run right on down. This is all cigarette burns, and when it discolored it, makes it white. And now when you're trying to play the game, you get the reflection of these whites in the actual glass that's right here. So I'm trying to, it's awful hard to get the camera to focus inside there. It has a service switch inside, but also the coin mech switch is working. So boom. Now we've added a game, and now you can see the thing move. There you go. Oh, that should have made a hit. So as you turn the wheel, man, this thing just won't focus. Oh, I wish it would focus better. There we go. Oh, it tried there. See, it's coming and going in and out of focus. There we go. Hold it right there. Let's see what happens. You can see the target coming in line. You got to shoot way ahead of time in order to get it, I guess. I don't know whether the game is missing the crosshairs, but I'm not finding crosshairs on screen, so I can't really line up the shot as well as I want to. I kind of guess where they're supposed to go, but timing's everything, because obviously it's got, there it goes, that's a hit. Hot dog, I knew I had to hit one. So like I said, it's kind of a bit of a challenge to get it to hit, and only one of them's hitting, so I may need to, like I said, do a little bit more cleanup to get the game. There it is. There we go. Now we're doing it. Come on. Ah, well, see, there you go. Then you get mission completed and it's all done. So she's almost there. Getting better. Some cleanup to do. We'll get it right. So I've got most of the other pieces redone, rebuilt, cleaned up, whatever. But what I haven't really concentrated too much on is the actual control board, which is what this is. There's several relays in here. There's really not as many relays as we normally see in a big electromechanical machine. It's actually very few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11 relays and things down here. That's 12. That's really not much. One stepper unit, one motor. Yeah, that's not much at all, really. But as you can see, obviously there's a lot of dirt on it. Dirt really doesn't hurt anything, except it may get into the contacts. But there's capacitors all over the place. Here, here, here. There's also switches that need to be adjusted better, and some that I really couldn't. I've tried to clean some of these, but you know, I wouldn't mind taking them apart and looking at them a little closer. Same way on the stepper unit here for the lamps. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over to the air compressor and blow all this dust off, make it a little bit easier to work on. Then I'm going to set it down on my pinball dolly and work inside the workroom in there to where I have a little better access. I can replace all these capacitors a little bit easier and try and bend over inside the machine. This control board just slips up inside this groove here, and there's one on each side, and it just slides in. There's a big wing nut goes right through the middle of it, which is here, and it fits into this hole right here, screws down into there. The plywood has obviously swollen in there, and it's really tight, but so it was really hard to pull it out. So it's going to be a challenge to stick it back in, but because I had to put both feet against the edges of the machine and just pull on this one handle right here. Really hard to get it out, but we'll clean it up, get it all back together, and put it back. Probably get a picture or two on the workbench while I'm doing it. Now with the control board out, I went through a bit of a process. First thing I did is I blew all the dust off, and believe it or not, even though it looks dusty, it blew a lot of dust off. Anyway, I blew all the dust off that I could. I went through all the different relays and switches and cleaned all these, but then also make sure that these were working properly in the at rest and then at the activated position, making sure the switches were open and closing like they were supposed to. This little replay box here, is actually an alternating unit, and what it does is there's two switches in there, and you can see one's closed and one open, and every time it's activated, it simply rotates that dial in the back and closes one, opens the other. So it's just an alternate click clock thing. And so we re-cleaned that. These smaller .22 microfarad caps, gosh, they're just so small. They're hard to. I'm not going to replace those. I've had some discussion with folks smarter than me, and we're going to leave those alone. They're probably most likely not bad, so we're just going to leave those alone. We did clean up the points on the score reel, as well as on the rocket light reel. As the rockets go along, this is what this thing does, is it lights up. If you notice, there's, see if you can see it up in there. Yeah, see, there's 3 rows of contacts. Basically, there's 3 rows of rockets, boom, 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 around these circles, and that's what it's doing. So they were having some issues not cleaning, so I really cleaned all that up, cleaned the outside, the other circuit side of the circuit is here, so we cleaned all that all the way around. Hopefully that'll make that better. We also went through, cleaned up all the switches on the scoring motor, or as they call it, the rocket cam unit, and cleaned all those up to make sure that they were doing what they're supposed to, as well as I put some oil on this chain in here to that, and inside this motor there's a little oiling dot right there. So we've got some, cleaned that up, got that oiled up. And this switch down here, there's 2 switches, one here and one over here. This one, the far one over here, it was bent, so it wasn't kicking on like it's supposed to when it was activated. So I've adjusted that now to make that work. So it's all cleaned up, it's all adjusted now, or as clean as it's going to get without total disassembly. But it's clean enough that it's going to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it all back and see how it goes. In the process, I found a 110 relay that this is, I'm going to try to replace the one that was missing from here on the for the lockout relay. And if it works, we should be able to make the lockout relay work like it's supposed to, but we'll see. That's like way secondary. We're going to make sure everything else runs first before I start messing with that guy. But at this point, all of it's cleaned up, and it's now ready to go back in the machine. All right, I've put the game board back in it. One of the things I did, it's missing a piece. I'll eventually try to find the piece, but if you notice the little red thing here in the middle, well, I made that. That's a piece of cardboard stuck over the top of an old button piece I had and wired in, and right now it's just temporarily connected up to the 9-volt side. I got a red LED in it because what they're supposed to be is a targeting sight, and mine doesn't have that, and it was really difficult to play the game without it. So I got it all plugged in. I got my targeting sight in. We're going to press the service button here, and we're going to come up here and see how she plays. Well, let's see if we can start there. We may not make that one. Nope. There we go. There. Now we're getting it. Now I have noticed I missed. Sometimes the ones way out on the edge are hard to get. And I've had some that I've hit straight on. See, I should have turned him more. But where's my next target? There it is. See, in the 3 middle ones I can get pretty easy. But this one out here on the edge, and I've got it turned all the way. You can see I hit it, but it didn't record it. So we're going to have to work on that and see if we can't figure out what's going on. This one, I believe, no, that was just me missing. Yeah, see, I'm over the top. I should have hit that one, but it didn't. But anyway, that's one of the final shooter things I've got to figure out. But I'm going to have to mess with it a bit more. But anyway, there it is. We're really close to making it work. I need to make the marquee up here work. It's not lit right now, and some of the scoring's not coming up, but I think there's bad sockets in there. There's this light's out, and also I think there's a light behind the timer unit that I didn't see when I had it out, but I got to figure out how to light this timer unit because you can't see it. It'd be nice to be able to see that. But other than that, in wiring, what I want to do is find a, I need to find, without the schematics, I guess it's going to be fun to figure it out, but I need to find the 6 volts in here somewhere that only comes on when the game's in play. I need to look at the game relay, which is back in there. And as soon as I find that, there we go. I think that game relay back there, I might be able to tie into there. But as soon as I find that, we'll solder these wires into that, tuck those up out of the way. This wire is for the speaker. What we'll do is we'll hang it on this little thing, which may be what that's for, is hang the speaker wire on there so it doesn't drop down and get in the way of the various different motors and things. So, but she's almost done, and she's looking cool. So I was having trouble with the yoke, so I've pulled the yoke out. You can see where it just sticks up in there. Well, the problem with it is several things. But the first thing I noticed was that holding the yoke to the shaft is one bolt there, and there should be one there, and there should be one there. So I've got 1 out of 3 bolts holding it, which makes the thing really wobbly and would probably increase the chances of it breaking. Additionally, this shaft where it sticks in there, you can kind of see how it's glimmery, has got this really old grease on it, and it is just absolutely sticky and nasty, which of course doesn't allow it to move like it's supposed to. There's also this little ring. Now this ring I had found and shown it earlier, saying, ooh, I ought to keep that. Well, I figured out where it goes. It is a bushing that goes right there. There you go. See, it's supposed to go in there. That'll keep that slack out of it and keep people from banging it back and forth. When you come to arcade games, if there's any slack at all, people are going to bang the slack, whether that's back and forward or left and right. If it's got some slack, they'll bang it, just because, hell, it's fun to bang the thing back and forth. So anyway, I'm going to replace that. I've really been dreading and not taking this piece out. She seems to be working okay. I may put some WD-40, maybe some little oil up on the thing, but she really seems to be doing well, except for the fact that, of course, there's play in it, but we're going to fix that. So anyway, there was 2 bolts that go through there, through this piece, one there and one under the bottom, that screws in the top of that yoke, one there and one on the side, and they're number 10, so you unscrew that, then you can pull the yoke straight out. So we're going to clean that up and put it back together and see if that doesn't help the controls a little bit. Well, the yoke's back in it. Few other couple of things we did. Walk around here. We'll bring my light in so we can see a little better up inside there. So, as you can see, where the yoke, all that mechanism there was just covered with black gunk and grease, and so I've actually pulled all that apart, cleaned it up, put some new grease along the metal pieces there where it slides back and forth. The little fan there, that piece, she's working fine, moving fine without it, so I didn't mess with that. I'm kind of nervous about messing with that. The other thing I had to do, so that cleaned that up, made it move real well. Well, there's this bottom rod that comes all the way across the bottom there comes over here and connects over here. Now, up in there, you can see where it connects right there. Well, there's two bolts, two nuts, one on each side. Well, that adjusts centering of the mirror, and those two bolts were just like basically just completely loose. Additionally, up here at the top, there's another bolt. Wait, not there. Hang on. Where was it? Up here. Yeah, on the mirror itself, this bolt here, two nuts were loose. So for adjustments of the mirror, you have this adjustment, you have those two bolts, that nuts, you undo one, you slide that back and forth to where it fits, and then the springs, you can make these springs looser or tighter by twisting it on there and make it move, make it run, fly faster or slower. But so anyway, you can see where I had the rag in there to keep all the WD-40 and junk from falling on the wood. So I fixed that. While I was going ahead and doing that, I also went over here and I had to put, we didn't have a you can see it right there, that I didn't have a target sight. So I made a target sight, as I talked about earlier, and I had it just connected up straight to the transformer, but I only wanted it to come on. I wanted it to run through a fuse, and it wasn't running through a fuse. So I tied it to the 6-volt other side of the 6-volt fuse, and also I found the ground right there on that stepper unit and tied into there. So now when you turn it on, you have ground. So I've got the ground right. I mean, I've got that light in there. I've got the steering wheel working right. We played a few games and it plays pretty well. I'm not going to show any more of the gameplay until I get, because I'm so close to having it done, when I get the right last piece. The only thing that's really not working is when you shoot a target that's on the far right hand side or left hand side, it doesn't register that target. I'm thinking either this connector down here, in here, there's two of them, right? You see all those? Well, the one on the far left, way over there, that one there isn't making a connection for some reason. And I don't know whether it's because the wires on it are broke, or maybe I've cleaned those things and that should work, or it could be that up at the top, wherever the position of the mirror is, which is up here, see, that's up here. But what's interesting about the mirror piece that I hadn't figured out yet is that there's only 3 spots for the mirror to actually be the position for the mirror to know whether or not you shoot left, right, or not. But somehow it knows. I think it uses a combination. You can see that the way that works, it's just little pins there that's working. See, when it moves, the mirror moves, it slides back and forth. I wonder if I can hold that and you can see it. Yeah, you see how that slides over to one side and to the other? Yeah, see how that goes across? I think when you're far enough that it actually makes 2 connections, one to that stripe and one to the square, and that's how it knows you're at the far distance. I guess. I don't know. I don't have the schematics. I know the far right ones score, but the far left ones don't score. So I fixed that. That's about it. Almost there. We'll let you know when we get closer.